Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Today I wanted to share with you an old project I worked with called OikoSol, and yeah, it's a project that I've been passionate about, but in a way also frustrated because I've not been able to develop it as much as I wanted to. And I wanted to start with presenting it here in this channel and maybe inspiring some of you to know that there are some tools available in it and also maybe even help out. But first things first, OikoSol is a project that I started in 2014, and it really is a testament that it's been 6 years and I still have done very little with it according to the goals I had set for myself, because I just have not been able to find help for this. And OikoSol is meant to be a repository of open source, decentralized, sustainable technology. So the way it works is my idea was to create or think about technologies that could be useful and sustainable, and then to try to make instructions or blueprints so that people could make them themselves, and thus making their homes more sustainable and self-sufficient. And this is the website. It's oikosol.com, as you can see here. And the way I had envisioned the website was that anybody coming here could see at least 5 different categories. So if they want to, for example, harvest their own water, grow their own food, produce their own energy, recover nutrients from their waste, or to build their own transportation vehicle, they could choose which one, and then they would find the respective blueprints or instructions. But before we go into that, I just want to help you see a bit more of what the website has and navigate through it. So if we go to the About page, you can see a bit of a mission statement, which, like I said before, is helping people become more self-sufficient and self-reliant in regards to food, water, energy, waste management, and transportation. And the idea was to make these open source blueprints and instructions for each target technology, so those interested could build and improve on the design. And then I had here some small text about that companies could also have their products next to the free instructions, but that never really was developed. Here you can see some of the target technologies, but this is an old graphic. I have a newer one here, which I'm going to show you. So this is kind of the broad scope of the technology. So you can see here we have like wind, and then you have the horizontal axis, wind turbine, and the vertical axis, or the wind belt, and that would generate electricity. Sunlight, you could have chlorophyll photovoltaic panels or aluminum can solar thermal collectors that could give out electricity or heat. Then with water, you could get it from rainwater, fog, or dew, and you could have filters and collectors. And then here you could use these to power the food production system, which could be hydroponics, aquaponics, bioponics, or anthroponics. And then you have the bigger waste part, which would include, the vermicompost, which I've talked in other videos. Some also mealworms and black soldier fly larva composts, which I haven't done work on it yet. And then with the fish, you can have also, after you eat the fish and the crops, of course, we have human bio-waste, and then that can also be treated in some way to produce something useful that kind of loops everything back. So that was kind of the vision of all the different things that we would, or I would create at least. All these different technologies like the wind turbine and the water filters and the hydroponic system, all of these would be made into instructions that people could read and share and edit and improve on, and then build themselves the technologies to have in their own home. So, yeah, as I said, I was mostly the only person involved so far. There have been some people that have been interested, but they have come and go, and they've never really done much work on this. So yeah, maybe that will change in the future, but for now I have to assume I'll be the only one working on it. Regarding tools, I did actually do some work. So there is a Reddit where it was meant that people could discuss things, but that, I mean, there's 200 subscribers, but that's not, there's never been much active discussion. Then I made a GitHub platform that you can see here. And that was mostly as an extra backup or repository because I've had troubles with the website. But here you can, it's just, so far it's a backup of everything I've done. And yeah, I made a template so that people could create the instructions so they would know where to start from. And I also wrote some design guidelines. And then I had a list of all the target technologies in the descriptions. So for example, if you click here on the water one, you can see a very brief description of all the technologies, like the rainwater collector and the water filter and what they do and or what they're meant to do. And yeah, you can, the same for the food and energy and waste. So what have I actually done so far? So if you go here, you'll see that some of these are crossed, and you can actually click on them, and it says it's under construction, but you can still click here to see that list of things that they are the objective at some point. But the ones that are not crossed, that means I've actually done an instruction. So for example, if you go to growing your own food, here you have two main technologies. One of them is the media bed aquaponics, and the other one is the passive hydroponics. So here you have the free instructions. You can also just click on the image, and that will link you to a PDF. So as you can see, this is quite old. I made this in 2015, and this is a Creative Commons license, so anybody can do a lot with this. And the way the instruction is made is that it's kind of like inspired by the IKEA instructions. So I try to have as little text as possible, but whatever text there is in English, so it's more people can read it. And you start with a material list and the number of steps to complete this. And then I made some designs, I think, on Google SketchUp, trying to explain step by step how to produce it. So in this case, we take an IBC 1 cubic meter container, and then you cut it, you saw it, you rinse it, you create some protection here, you get a wood pallet, and in the end, the goal is that you have a working aquaponics system. So here you see the pump going in, filled with water, cycling, and you had the fish and I also had a part here in the instructions called known issues or suggestions. So that's for people that want to improve on this. These are the things I thought of at the time that they could work on if they were inclined to do so. And then the references is important because it might explain things in more detail, like theoretical things about how to operate something. So that's one of the instructions. I did, I think, 3 in total. So first it was this one, then it was the passive hydroponics, which you can see here. So less steps and more simpler. And yeah, it's very simple stuff in theory. Some of the technologies, of course, become more difficult. But so far I've only worked on food and recover nutrients from my waste. Here you have the vermicomposter instruction. And this I linked on my video about cultivating during pandemics. But all of these instructions are free, and it should be quite easy for you to get started. And if you have any issues, you can just comment on this video. But so the website is basically a work in progress. The idea is at some point to have this technologies so you can harvest your own water somehow, and then to produce your own energy. Here you can see that the list, some of the ideas I had to work on was like solar Stirling engine, microbial fuel cells, wind turbines. Some of these are more realistic than others. But yeah, the idea was to have a very encompassing range of technologies. The last on my priority would be to build some sort of transportation vehicle, and I think here, yeah, exactly, I was thinking of electric bikes, flywheel bikes, and mainspring bikes, which don't even exist as far as I know. But if you are interested in one of the instructions that I have made so far, you can just go to oikosol.com and download them. And then if for some reason you are more interested in participating, I can show you a bit of the process behind the scenes of how it works. So I have a Trello private page, and here I have put all of the ideas that have come up during the years. And you have here on the left goals, plans, and milestones. Then you have the planning stage for different technologies. Then you have the trial stage. You have ready for Soleco. Soleco is the name of the instruction. So these are things I've tried and they sort of work. So it's at a minimum level. So I could make an instruction, but of course making the instructions takes some time. Here are things that I've done already and they worked well. And then I also have some random appliance ideas that I just write here because it might be interesting to explore at some point. And lastly, some failed projects, so it's good to know what has worked and what hasn't worked. And yeah, to give you an idea on each of these ideas that I keep having, I make a little tab. I don't know what to call it, but I think it's a tab, and I just put some information that might be useful. So for example, here I'm describing a supercapacitor. I have some YouTube links, have some information I collect. I even look up prices of some things. Yeah, and I explore that. With wind turbines, I have also links of websites that work on that. I've asked on Facebook groups about it. Then on the trial stage, you can see some of the things I worked with. So here I have a wind belt. So some of my earlier attempts at this. A water collector. Here I was exploring something more specific. You can see a drawing of different parts of this water collector. And the one here that's, for example, would be ready for an instruction would be the aluminium can solar heater. So you take different solar cans and you paint them and you black to absorb energy, and then you put them here in this wooden structure, and then you had a little exhaust. So the idea is the sun heats up the air passing through and the fan extracts that warmer air that you could pump into your house in the winter, for example. So here I already have, the building specs, some improvement ideas. So here's a bit of basically the behind the scenes of how everything works. And some things have worked better than others. So the earlier bioponic experiments that I did not work so much. So they were, for example, here I say the pH was too high and didn't really work. So if this inspires you in some way to become involved, feel free to reach out. I would love some help because, as I've shown here, there is a lot of ideas to cover. And I've mostly focused on the food ones because I have the most experience with it. But the more I stray from that, the more help I will need because I have no idea how to build a wind turbine, for example, or a solar panel or something like that. And even like wastewater treatment, that's something I work with, but at a big scale, not a small scale for a household. So that's something that needs a lot of research, as I write here. And yeah, this is the OikoSol project that I've been working on. Comment if you're interested, if that inspires you in some way. I know there's similar concepts to this, like there is the open source ecology project and there is the Apropedia encyclopedia, and they are a bit more wide range. So for example, the open source ecology project is more about rebuilding or restarting a small civilization, and the Apropedia is about very useful technologies, not just sustainable technologies. So I wanted to have something that's very specific. So for people living in houses, either without gardens or with gardens, with limited space, just to make sure that you have you're a bit more sufficient, self-sufficient, and a bit more sustainable in your own little way. So that's it, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.